Hello, I'm Taj, digitally known as Tropic Vibes, the host of Nifty Business, where we highlight NFTs and explore Web 3.0 as we move from pure speculation to creating real-world value. So I just want to give you a quick update as to what's going on with Nifty Business behind the scenes and everything that's going on here. Quick overview, those of you that have been following for quite a while, every now and then I like to give a state of Nifty, right? What's going on with the business and this podcast, the content I create and so forth, and just generally what I'm building. Well, if you notice, the frequency of the episodes kind of stalled around the end of last year. And the reason being is after I traveled, was up there, it kind of got out of the rhythm of doing things. And that's entirely my fault. I'm a person that is a creature of habit. I get into a rhythm and I just go. And as far as when creativity's flowing, editing, all of those different things, for me, it's like a dam breaking. Once that little leak starts, the whole thing bursts open and creativity starts flowing. Well, when I get knocked out of routine and when I was traveling and I sort of got out of rhythm and I realized what made it so easy for me to just bang things out. Well, first and foremost, when I had a 14, 15-hour day job and I was locked in and I had a very specific window in which I had to create the content, there was nothing to even think about. But then once I started to do this, I had time to be exploring this stuff and what have you, because I walked away from that business. I realized that I was putting everything down on a piece of paper. I was scheduling out my days and I was just able to get into a creative workflow. I'd block time, everything. And what happened, I realized towards the end of the year, once I started to travel, is I left behind that book and I just went to a digital version. And that obviously isn't as efficient for me. I realized I'm a paper person. So I am now going forward with the old school paper. I realize it's way more efficient for me to block my time. So editing has really been the bottleneck of things. And I actually edit my own podcast. And that's one of the things. I just hate hearing my own voice. And as far as once I got out of the rhythm, I have a stockpile of things that are recorded, whether it be videos, audio, all sorts of content that just hasn't been released. And I have to just start editing and start chopping things up. So with that said, I'm starting with this. You'll see a couple episodes are coming out today alongside of this because I just have a whole bunch of things that were not released. And going forward, I'm going to get back into the rhythm of things. If you were here from the early days of this podcast, you know that this was a daily show. Every single day, rain or shine, even when I had COVID, I released an episode. It was just absolutely crazy for well over a year. That's exactly what I did. And that's how I got to 500 and whatever episodes I am right now in such a short period of time. It's because 7 days a week, 365, I was releasing these episodes. Now, I'm going to get back into the daily practice of doing things, not releasing the show daily, because as far as that goes, I think the bar that I've now set, I kind of raised the standards as to not just putting out things and actually getting a narrative that's interesting to an audience. So what I'm actually going to do is get into the habit of just recording constantly daily. I'm going to get into the habit of doing a space daily, Monday through Friday, not 7 days a week. Of course, just having space is absolutely ridiculous. But I'm going to do this early in the morning. It's going to get me out of bed, get the whole creative process flowing, if you will, in the mornings. I'm going to do that. Maybe it's going to even be a live stream or something of that nature, but just really getting that whole process going. And the best of the best is what I'll then use to create some ideas that will turn into the show. And maybe I'll take the recordings and the clips and what actually is a podcast narrative, or certain times I will do a podcast episode during that live stream, that morning session, or whatever it might be. Well, that's what I'm going to later chop up and edit. But the vast majority of that will just be to be down in the trenches, communicating with people and so forth. So that's what's going to be coming within the next few days or so. I'm not exactly settled if I'm going to do this via a space or if I'm going to do it Twitch or maybe even both at the same time. I'm not exactly sure. But anywho, early morning live stream. And if you know anything about me, I'm really not a morning person, but it is what it is. It will kick off my day very well, productive. And that's what I'm going to do. Start getting out that content daily. The best of the best will end up on the podcast. And as far as the newsletter, if you notice, it's been a while since I sent an email, and that's sort of the same thing too as well, is having all of these touch points, all of these different contents, communicating with different people, doing everything sort of as a one-man army, literally doing the promotions, the creations, the everything, really trying to get clients on the back end for different things that I'm trying to do, editing for them, doing the show. And in addition to just trying to build all these contacts to actually build things together, helping other companies do things. And that's not even client work. That's just networking work, if you will. all of that has just been just very scattershot, and I'm refining things, getting it back, which really is something as my strength. I don't know how things got so chaotic. However, getting back on track, and even though it's the middle of the month, almost the end of the first month at this point, it's still early in the year, and I just want to get back on track, hit all the numbers that I have written down and planned for this year. But coming up right now, of course, preparing for NFT NYC, that's going to be in April. It seems like all the conferences are in the same time during April, and you have to pick and choose. But because I'm speaking at NFT NYC, I'll definitely be going to that. And right now, I'm actually working to get a sponsorship for that, if you will. And you might be wondering, like, what kind of sponsorship could that possibly be? Well, obviously, on the podcast, I don't run ads, and I'm not plugging anything. Anything I speak about is just genuinely what I'm interested in, even the guests that I have on. However, when I go to NFT NYC, maybe it will be a company that will help to co-brand my coverage of the event or whatever it might be. But as far as this podcast goes, yeah, it's still going to be the same. So when you hear sponsorship, don't think, oh, yeah, this is going to be now a sponsor's podcast. No, nothing of that sort. But as far as my expenses getting to NFT NYC and just turning that event into more content, helping to build a business or something in the space, that's the type of sponsorship that I'm looking for right now. And going forward, I think that's probably one of the ways that I'm going to get to a lot of these conferences. That is the best way to meet different people. Obviously, being in the space, I am paying for everything out of pocket, whether it be the NFTs, the crypto that I'm buying, the trips, conferences, everything to this point has been all my money, right? So speaking at NFT NYC, obviously, I'm going to get a free ticket to go to that. However, when I went to Miami, I paid for that and my wife. So going to this conference, that is one thing, at least trying to have my travel expenses covered. So I'm not going out of pocket for all of these events would be pretty cool. So with that said, if you will be in New York City during NFT NYC, just hit me up from now. I'll definitely be there. Maybe we'll meet up face to face. That'd be very cool. Take this thing beyond your eardrums and actually show you that I'm a real person and not just some random guy on the internet. That'd be pretty cool. So the other thing that I've just been getting back into is just the fun of the space, right? I've been hanging out in music spaces. I started to collect the NFL All Day NFTs, diving into some wax spaces. And again, these are things that are just low ticket items, just fun, not even necessarily the business side of things, but it is just exciting being there in the trenches, interacting with people that are actually building out the businesses. But most importantly, see what it's like to be a consumer on the other side, just having fun. That's what's something I would like to get back to. Again, it's tightening the budget towards the middle and end of last year. I wasn't buying into as many things as I was previously. However, going forward, I really want to get back into it, into the trenches, just having a lot of fun, because it's cool to speak to the builders. It's cool to speak to the coders and the marketers and understand what's going on the business side of things. But it's just so much more fun when I'm actually participating as a customer and I can give my honest review as what it was like going through that whole entire process as a customer, whether it be as a client using some of these data tools or whatever it might be. I think just getting back to that will be a lot more fun because I love covering this stuff. I absolutely do. But it's completely different when you are speaking to teams and understanding what they're doing and you're actually a customer, because there's like the journalist side, if you will, not that I consider myself to be a journalist, but, covering it. And then there is the customer that's giving their raw reviews, like someone on Amazon writing reviews, right? Even though some of those are kind of sketchy in itself. But generally speaking, what I mean is just giving my review as a patron of that particular business or project. But from you, I would love to know, what do you like most about the show? Because as you can see, I test different formats. I do different segments, whether it be the interviews, whether it be the solos, which is the vast majority of the episodes. I want to know, what do you like more? Because I spent a lot of time trying to line up a whole bunch of interviews. And for the most part, they're falling through the cracks. Some of them are being canceled, technical things. We're actually there trying to get in, can't record, or the guest can't connect to the platform that I used to record or whatever it might be. And that has just been a headache. And if you know, out of the 550 some odd episodes, I would say more than 500 of those were solo episodes. And those are so much easier to produce and so forth, trying to line up time zones and all the different headaches. And that probably was the most frustrating part of the whole thing, because certain things are just completely out of your hand. It might be on a particular day when you have a lineup, you say you have 3-4 interviews, and for whatever reason, 2 or 3 of them might fall through. But I would love to know, what are your thoughts on that? Do you enjoy those interviews? Do you enjoy the solo episodes more? Do you enjoy the mix of the two? Any feedback as far as the formats, what's going on, what you'd like to see, different types of content, or whatever. I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Of course, contact information is in the show notes, but as usual, you can hit me up at Tropic Vibes on X. But I 1000% appreciate all of your support over the last, 2.5, 3 years. And I'm looking forward to whatever the future brings. Thank you for taking time to listen to this as we're learning and building Web3 together. So until next time, later. The Nifty Business Show is not investment advice. It provides insights and information within the space. As with anything, please do your own research before making a decision whether you're making an investment or a purchase.